jumping over to the NFC East. Start with the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah. It's funny because it's funny when we make predictions of like, oh, what do you think the spread is, or what do you think the win total is, and you just nail it, and you're just like, okay, I'm on the same page. So obviously their win total is 10.5.
Yeah.
I came out from this schedule. My first reaction was like, I don't see more than 7 losses on this schedule, but I also don't see more than 11 wins.
Right. There you go.
No matter what, they're 10 or 11 win team.
Mm-hmm.
Lo and behold, they're 10.5.
Yeah.
So it's a number that you probably shouldn't bet because they're straddling right where it is, but have a lot of winnable games. They've been like the king of the tomato cans. If you watch First Things First, that's something Chris Broussard always says. They just beat up on the easy teams, and then they struggle against the hard teams.
Yep.
This year, fortunately, I don't know if it's a good or bad thing, but all their hard games are at home. But they haven't been a great home team in recent years. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that's a good thing or not. I'm actually going to the Bengals Cowboys game Monday Night Football week. What is that, 14?
Mm-hmm.
They're going to lose that game. But it is what it is.
Probably.
I just I just want to see a good football game. So, but yeah, Baltimore at home, obviously, Philly at home. They played Detroit. San Francisco is the easiest L on the schedule.
Mm-hmm.
I hated that it's a primetime game because once again, they're going to be handled on Sunday Night Football, and then it's just going to be a talking point. But Houston, another one at home, but then a lot of road games at Carolina, at Pittsburgh, obviously their division. At Cleveland is a tough one, but they're at home. That's probably the one game that's going to figure out the whole thing of if they go over or under.
Right.
But yeah, it's a reasonable schedule. It's really easy to kind of pencil the range of outcomes for them. But unless it's injuries, they're by default going to be one of the top 6 teams.
Right.
And, unless there's just everybody overachieves, I don't see a way that this team doesn't make the playoffs unless that goes down.
Yeah, and I was thinking about, you said you're going to that game, the Cincinnati game. Well, you said you wanted good football. Well, the last time you went to watch the Dallas Cowboys, it was not good football.
No, it was not.
So Green Bay versus Dallas last year was the last game Cam went to. So we'll try to forget that. But
I slammed an alcoholic drink on the ground, and then we left, and it went all over this lady in front of me. I felt so bad.
Oh, no.
But I was so upset.
I think she was probably upset and then more upset.
Yeah.
But going over to the Philadelphia Eagles, truly, this is, of course, it's always the Eagles and the Cowboys who's going to win the division. I think it's more predicated on how the Eagles do, not how the Cowboys do. Like you said, it's kind of cut and dry what they're going to do. Early stretch, kind of is going to be telling because I don't think it's too difficult. Green Bay, Atlanta, at New Orleans, at Tampa Bay, Cleveland at home, and then at the Giants. Kind of feels like they could win all 7 of those pretty handedly. So I think that's going to be a really good way for them to start. And if they go 6-1 or 5-2, if they go 5-2, I think it's an underachievement in that group.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I mean their schedule to me, it worked out really well for them. All their hard games are kind of spread out. Yeah. So the games are all spread out. Dallas, obviously, week 10, and then week 17. That's probably going to be a for the division type of game or a big deal. And then Baltimore's kind of spread out. You see Cleveland, Green Bay's week 1 in a international game. So yeah, it's not they don't have a gauntlet like a lot of teams that when they play good teams, they don't really have consecutive games that's just like, oh, this is rough. Like their hardest 2-game stretch is probably Green Bay, Atlanta. They're both at home and they're both week 1 and 2. So yeah, I mean, I would feel really good as a Eagles fan about this schedule. They're easy bet to me to win the division, and they should be vying for a 1 or 2 seed.
Yeah, and then like you said, for final 5 games, they're at home, so they're going to be comfortable, I think, by the time that we get to those last 5 games, and then they should just be able to hammer them and get in and out, and hopefully, I expect 12 wins out of this team, and they underachieved last year at the end of the year, some just imploding, but you have a whole year to fix that. Hopefully that's fixed
And
and
they
they don't
and
have to deal
they
with that anymore.
actually targeted what their flaw was. Like
Right.
with Dallas, they didn't get better this offseason.
Yeah.
You can hope that their draft picks worked out, but they're again at all positions. Their major positions that they picked are ones that they really have no experience at.
Right.
So it's hopeful or wishful thinking. Philly was like, our DBs suck, so we're gonna get the first and third best DB in this class. And then we're gonna bring back Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who's a high-end, high-motor player. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, your secondary is probably top 10.
Yeah, solid. They have Darius Slay still.
Yeah, and then there are two veterans that they lost. Fletcher Cox left, but we got Jalen Carter, we got Jordan
Davis.
Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. Yeah, a couple of Georgia boys, and then center's a really easy position to overcome. I don't think that just because Jason Kelsey's gone, their tush push is not going to work anymore. It'll probably be slightly less successful. And then they bring in Saquon as a luxury pick. Like they're right there with Philly.
Yeah, and they re-sign all their players.
With San Fran and Detroit.
Right. They re-sign AJ Brown, Devontae. They're going to be happy. So yeah, I think this is the team to beat in this division, and I'm pretty sure Dallas is the favorite.
Yeah.
So, take the field. But then you get the Giants, Week 11 bye. They play the entire NFC South between Week 10 and 6 through 16. That's always a good thing for any team. And then they have 3 primetime games in a 5-week stretch. We were surprised. Obviously, we talked about it before. Giants probably shouldn't have as many primetime games as they have, but they do. And they're favored over the Minnesota Vikings Week 1. I guess we are lower on them than the public. So
yeah, they're my least favorite team in the NFC, including Carolina. Roster upside, all that.
Okay. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I don't have much faith in this team at all. I don't even know if Daniel Jones will be back Week 1 because there's a lot of talk that Drew Lock is going to be starting, and he hasn't really taken the ball and run with it with Denver or Seattle.
Right.
So it's just like, I don't think that they're a very good team. They should not be favored over Minnesota. They should not have these primetime games, and they're probably going to be in the top 3 conversation in terms of overall draft pick next year.
Yeah, I'd expect this to be one of the teams that gets a quarterback out of the 2025 draft. So yeah, I completely agree with you. Then we go to the Washington Commanders, who is on the way up. Is more exciting. For the final 5 games against non-2023 playoff teams, they were the 4th team in this division, I believe, last year. Yes, yep. Absolutely. And then they travel the least of any team in 2024. It's just one of those things where, they have an opportunity because of the schedule to be a much better team than they are on paper necessarily. And new coaching staff, what was it, almost 40 new players total on the team.
Yeah, they have the biggest turnover. They have the most spending.
They're trying.
Yeah,
they're actually trying.
They're trying, but you just don't know how soon it'll translate. So again, 4th place schedule. There's a lot of winnable games on their slate. I don't know if I can vault them into the playoffs, but I did say for a reason that they were a really strong bet to win the division because it's 10-1, and there hasn't been a repeat winner in over 20 years. So it won't be Dallas. It's either going to be Philly or Washington. Why not? Just, hey, Jalen Hurts goes down. Oh, all right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Washington wins it at 10-7 or 9-8. And we saw before Washington can compete with Philly. Like last year, Sam Howell dueled it out both games. With Philly, came down to the wire. The Giants have actually swept in 2 straight years. Don't anticipate that happening this year. So that'll be 2 more wins. And then Dallas, again, they've had Washington's number, but their head coach is the reason that they had so much success, or one of the biggest reasons. And then they took about 3-4 key role players from them as well.
Right. And I think personally, like if I look at the NFC East, like they have the most, they were playing the worst at the end of the year last year out of any division by far. And if they don't figure that part out, Dallas will regress by a lot. We think 10-7. Well, it'll be 8-9, 7-10 based on not improving their roster. And then also, they played what they did. They got blown out by Green Bay, one of the youngest teams in football. And then Philly imploded if they continue to have that issue, we're going to see, this fact that they could also go be one of the larger differences in what their win total could be. We think 12, it could be 8 also. Well, okay, why not Washington just, okay, we'll just take it, whatever. Right. I don't think that'll happen, but it's not out of
the range of outcomes.
Yeah, exactly.